This is a video for managing scale in Map Canvas and Print Composer within QGIS. And we often can manage scale with a lot of finesse within the Map Canvas extent, but when we go to Print Composer, it becomes a little bit more complicated. And this video is just going to cover the relationship between Print Composer and Map Canvas, specifically for scale and how you can control for it. So to get started, we're going to talk about spatial bookmarks, and then also how you can zoom in and out of your page space within Print Composer. And then under Print Composer, we can also set the exact extent of our map to what's in the map canvas itself. And we can also do some fine adjustments within the map element for scale within Print Composer also. So let's go ahead and get started. Those are the things that we're going to do right there. So the first thing is setting up bookmarks, and what I want to do is get some features into my map. And right now I have everything sitting on the desktop. I have my browser panel open here, and I'm going to navigate and create a favorite. So if I go to users, that's me. It's sitting way deep down in here on my desktop for the exercise data. And what I want to do here, instead of having to go through all these folders, I'm just going to make this a favorite. I'm going to say add as a favorite. So now when I open up the browser panel, I can just quickly get to it as a favorite for this project. I'm also going to save it right now too before we go any farther. So I'm just going to go ahead and go to desktop, and I'll stick it in here, and I'm just going to call this scale and say save. So it's just a little QGIS map here for scale. Okay, I'm going to drop in some data. It doesn't really matter what data that is. In this case, I'm going to use land ownership. This data set's coming from the Discover QGIS book, and this is open data for those exercises. So here we have our features for Western land ownership, and these correspond with sage grouse habitat. And all we're going to do here is do what's called spatial bookmarks. And spatial bookmarks are really helpful for actually doing final map layout, and I'll explain kind of what they do here. So there's two tools up at the top. So if I bring down this little toolbar here, actually let me get the one that has it. This is it. So this main toolbar, let me rearrange this. This main toolbar right here has show bookmarks and then also a new bookmark. So I'm going to create a new bookmark for this particular scale that I'm at right now. So if I'm producing a final map and this is the scale at which I want to actually be developing that final map, what I can do is go to show bookmarks, to new bookmark, and down here in the bottom I'll just call it, I'm going to call this small scale, and the next one will be large scale. Okay, so this is small scale, and you can see that it sets up some boundaries here. It gets very specific in terms of where it's located for the bounding box. Okay, so I just go ahead and click on that, and it's set. I can go ahead and move this if I want to now, but I'm just going to leave it there down in the bottom. And then let's do this. Let's make a much larger scale. Let's zoom very far into one of these one of these land use polygons here, and make a new bookmark. So here I'm going to go ahead and say new bookmark. I'm going to call this large scale. So I could literally make dozens of these for, say, a map series, or just simply different scales that I'm interested in mapping at. And you do have control of the scale within this space down here on the bottom. So we can see that we have one map unit equals these ground units. So we're at a scale of about a million here, 1 to a million. So if I did 10 million, we can see that we're going to jump way out. There's 10, and let's even jump out. Let's jump out to 100. So this would be a global scale. So if at a global scale, it would be like this. Okay, now what I can do is I can come over here to my bookmarks now, and let's zoom back into large scale. The original bounding and the original scale, I can just double click on large scale and it brings me right back. And I can also double click on small scale and it brings me back to that original scale. So again, I'm going to now save the master file here, and all these bookmarks, the next time I open it up, they're going to appear in my QGIS project. So that's all good and well in terms of scaling in and out and setting scales with spatial bookmarks. And what's also important about these is that they're capturing the actual positioning on the page itself. So let's make one real quickly. I'm going to call this spatial bookmark right. So I'm pushing all my features off to the right here. And here what I would do is just go back, and I'm going to call this right dash features. And let's go back to large scale. That zooms me in there. Now if I go back to right features, it sees that it captures both the scale and the actual positioning of the features off to the right here. So it's really handy in terms of positioning and then also in terms of scale. So again, I'm going to go ahead and save this. Now, when we go into actually printing the map in Print Composer, we have some other issues we have to deal with. So as we do that, let's go find a Print Composer tool here. So here it is right up here. I'm going to go to the Print Composer, and I'm going to call this just test and say OK. And I'm going to go ahead and bring my map page in. So it's going to be the one off to the right here. This is just a 8.5 by 11 landscape paper, and you can see that it's picking up the exact same positioning and scale within my map canvas. That's all good and well. Now the issue here is that we don't have a lot of control over positioning it outside of the map canvas. Certainly we have some tools we can move things around, but really what we're doing here is that we're dealing with two elements, both the page space itself but also the map element too. So when we're zooming in and out of this space, it's not so much that we're dealing with the features and the scale and the coordinate system in the map canvas, it's that we're dealing with kind of a fictitious page space that has both the page and the features, and it treats scaling and zooming differently. And let's talk about the difference. The key thing here is that I have a page space, and down at the bottom now I have a percentage in terms of scale. And let's just click on this real quick. Let's go down to 12.5%. And you can see what happens. Not only does the page itself zoom, but also the features zoom away from us. Let's go back to, say, 100. Now we have a page space that we can't even see the edges of it. So personally, I like to work in the 50s to the 80s. So let's bring this to, say, 70%. So 70%, I have this kind of canvas now that I can work on, and I can see the shadow on the edge of the page space itself, and then I can see my actual features right here as an element within this larger page space. And again, it's not so much that I'm changing the scale of the features inside the map, I'm changing the whole working space zoom level. How close am I to the actual page? And this can be helpful, say at 75%, to just get a ballpark sense of all your elements on the page, and then maybe you want to use your, say, 25% to right before you finish up exporting out, just to see how all the elements look together. And then maybe you want to be in the 100% when you're working on one particular feature within the map, say a scale bar or a legend particular, outside of thinking about all the map elements in terms of a map layout. Okay, so that's how we kind of control our page space zoom. Now, that's very different than the actual scale of the map element itself, which currently I have active right now. And the way that I can work with this space within scale, is I can come over here to, not composition, because composition is dealing with the actual full page space itself, but if I come over to item properties, it's going to just be looking at the property that I'm dealing with right here, which is the map canvas itself inside the Print Composer. And here we can see we have a current scale, we have map rotation, and importantly we have our extents, and we also have this button called Set to Map Canvas Extent, and this is the key button that we want to really pay attention to for a moment. So if I click this, it's going to see the space that I'm in the map canvas. Let's go back to map canvas now and change that space. So let's go into large scale. So I'll double click on large scale, and now I've changed in the map space, the zoom, and the positioning, and we can see it's not taking any effect over here. What I can do is set to map canvas extent here, and sure enough, it takes hold of what's in my map canvas. Now if I want to get a little bit more control over this, what I can do is I can then deal with scale in the Print Composer space specific to the map element itself by manipulating scale under main properties. In scale here, it drops off the map unit and just deals with the second part of the equation. Okay, so here it looks like we're at about 1.2 million units. Let's make it, let's add a 0. That's going to zoom us very far out. I'll add another 0, and that's going to go even farther. So now I'm dealing at about 127 million scale. And let's go ahead and drop some zeros. Let's drop a few back. So that gets me very close. 2 more zeros in, and that gets me back to about my original scale that I was at. So again, if I want to go back and get to another scale now, I can go to small scale, click on that, and then come back over here and say set to map extent. Okay. So this is a way to keep fidelity between your map canvas space and also your Print Composer space. And of course, as you're doing this and you're getting towards your final layout, you can go to Composer and save this project, and it's going to save that test that's tethered to the master QGIS project file. Okay, so if I close out this and now go back to Print Composer to the manager, okay, and I can see I have test. I can just go ahead and say show now, and it's going to bring me back to that space that I was working in before. Okay, so hopefully this is helpful to get a handle on dealing with scale and dealing with positioning, both with spatial bookmarks, but also doing the fine-tuning that needs to happen once you're in Print Composer for a final map layout.